there's actually a new, someone started a Facebook site for Queen West, just started. Queen West 77 to 80 something, it's called. I can send you an invitation because somehow I'm part of it. Yeah, there's everybody that's still alive is sort of on it, which includes most of the big name type people. Back in 78, though, was probably the place that anyone that was in a band and interested in art went to OCAD. That's just what they did. Sort of based on the British thing, where a lot of bands coming out of Britain, there's a lot of art school kids that started bands, and that's sort of what was happening at OCAD, which included some of the even teachers being in bands, or people that taught art, or were practicing artists. So music was an actual focus then, which I don't think it is now. I think music's not as strong a driver for creativity as it used to be. I think a lot of the reason people started doing art was just be able to communicate with other people of their own like mind. Music was just a way that Toronto really got into this sort of, I'll say it's a renaissance period for Toronto. From 77 to about 82, there was tons of art and music, creativity going on around OCAD for a lot of reasons. One was you could live there, you could actually afford to live on Queen West area, and that's where a lot of people found cheap rental places and places to play and could afford it within a short distance of OCAD. That doesn't exist now. Where the actual location of OCAD was pretty central to where all the clubs and stuff were too. Talking Heads played OCAD. Lots of big bands. I played there a couple of times. Now it's easier to do with social media, find your little niches and stuff. Music was sort of the gathering place for anyone with art sort of aspirations. So that was sort of the thing that brought people together, whether it was live clubs or stuff like that. There's a lot more music live.
Turn on now.
Ladies and gentlemen, from Thornhill weighing in at 250 pounds, the incredible Laura West, and now her referee.
I used to have to go staple. You'd have a show and you'd go a couple of days before and staple up posters, and hopefully no one stapled posters over, but because it was always a battle out there. Honest to God, I'd take my stuff in to get it printed, and printers would look at that and just shake their heads and go in the back room and make a plate out of it. You'd hear them just mumbling to themselves, going, "Oh my God, what is this?" If they wanted to make money, they sort of had to talk to the weirdo that walked in the door that normally they wouldn't talk to in real life. I used to see some of these people actually change into more arts-based guys. Their expertise was actually being used in a creative way. Geez, I just wanted to sell electronic parts, and now I'm having to learn how to make weird noises. When we played, we were pretty theatrical. We used to have people that worked in theater or film or movies. Those people would all hang out. They could walk out of their kitchen in 5 minutes be in a club. Nowadays that doesn't work. Just logistically, you can't afford it. Like artists could not. That's why they've all moved away from Queen West. Everything, there's close proximity plus the ability for people to just join together at a, not even have to formalize when they're getting together, right? They just go out. I think the arts community will leave. They already have. They can't afford it. The actual location of OCAD was pretty central to where all the clubs and stuff were too, right? And the community of people that were, artists don't make a lot of money, they were all within that area as well. So they would go out at night and they would meet each other at different shows. And that was just a community sort of thing. I'm not sure whether that same sort of community is around as it was before. I think there's niche communities, but there's not so much of a larger overall awakening going on. And people didn't feel like they had to have a ton of expertise to get into art or music. Like, there's lots of bands that started out, people didn't know how to play. Barely scraped things together and played without having a ton of skill, but lots of creativity to it and energy. So there was the punk thing that happened at Crash and Burn in 77, I guess. And then it moved to different clubs close to OCAD, which would be the Beverly. The Cabana Room came up later. The Horseshoe Tavern, which became a punk place for a while, with the Garys. Then the Edge came up. There's places like the Turning Point and Larry's Hideaway and all those. So music was just a crux for what was happening at OCAD, for sure.
Our next song is our last song. Well, it is all about a bit of morning glory. It's really a bit of morning glory right there. Not to mess around.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thanks for coming out tonight.
Yes, it's time once again for another boring instrumental.
But there's still tons out there that never got captured from that period. If you go on that Queen West Facebook site, you'll see how many bands there were that were doing stuff then. It was crazy. But it's sadly undocumented in a way. It was 90 cents a beer at the Beverly Tavern in 78.